Well, if it kills inflation, it's good for you and me, yes. But see, the problem is these are not very smart people. That's why they work for the government. They can't get a real job, so they work for the government. They're not terribly smart. So when you see a disaster, we all say, oh, that's terrible. But we also should start saying, maybe there's an opportunity as well. Is one of those areas.
So did you hear that the Korean financial authorities recently banned short selling? In Korea, it is now banned for like 6 months. So do you think these policies...
Short selling has been around for decades and centuries, and it's good for a market when you have short selling. Korea recently eliminated short selling. In my view, that's not good, but I'm not Korean. You know, you do it your way. It's usually good to have short selling in a market. What happened in Korea, as I understand it, people were abusing the rules. They were breaking the rules. They were naked short selling. You know, they were normally when you sell short, you borrow the shares and then you sell them. And then you buy them back and you pay the shares back. What I'm told is that there were people who were just selling without borrowing the shares. In English, that's called naked short selling. And that's against the rules. And so Korea did something to try to stop that. But short selling in the end is good for a market.
Let's talk about rates. So there are many investors who expect that the Fed will cut interest rates next year. So what's your view about interest rates?
Well, I would suspect too, if the American economy gets bad, which it will, you will probably see them cutting rates because they think that's how to keep their job. They don't care about you and me. They care about keeping their job. These are government employees. They're bureaucrats. You know, they don't know what they're doing, but they do know how to cut rates. And they will cut rates when things slow down. That will cause a problem because then they're going to have to raise rates again when inflation makes itself clear again. Because inflation's not over yet. Central banks around the world have printed huge amounts of money in the last several months, and that has always led to inflation. It will lead to more inflation eventually. So when inflation comes, but when they see inflation, they will have to raise rates again, and that will cause a lot of pain and a lot of problems.
So you think that there is possibility that Fed will even raise the rate, right?
Eventually, yes. The Fed's mandate, the law is that the Fed is supposed to take care of inflation, the currency, and they're also supposed to take care of employment. So if we have inflation, the law is they're supposed to raise interest rates, and they will. It's not good for you and me. Well, if it kills inflation, it's good for you and me, yes. But see, the problem is these are not very smart people. That's why they work for the government. They can't get a real job, so they work for the government. They're not terribly smart.
Maybe we can talk about American election. There's election next year, so what influence it will give to the global market? You know, there's protection that maybe Trump is over the Biden, so...
Well, always the year before an election in America, the economy and the markets are strong because Washington knows the election's coming, and so they do everything they can to make people happy the year before the election and in the election. But we will have an election in 2024, you're right about that, and all the politicians will do their best to make people happy. They will spend money to try to keep the economy strong. And so the economy will not be weak next year. The stock market might turn weak because people know it's an over-exaggeration. So I would suspect that the economy will continue strong. The stock market will start to weaken.
We'll also talk about specific sectors. So I think it's quite seeing the era of artificial intelligence. So you know, like Microsoft and Nvidia are leading this way. So, which company do you think are promising in this era of artificial intelligence?
Every few years, all over the world, a new technology comes along. Human beings are always inventing new things, and artificial technology is one of those things. It's very powerful. It's very important. It's going to change everything we know. It's going to put a lot of people out of business. But electricity changed everything and put a lot of people out of business too. So yes, artificial intelligence is coming, but we will all be better off in the end. So I don't have any investments in artificial intelligence because I'm not very technologically, I'm just not smart enough about technology.
So then, which sectors you are focusing on next year? If it is not artificial intelligence, which sector are you currently investing in?
Well, right now I don't have many investments. You know, bonds are a bubble in most of the world. Property in property in Korea, New Zealand, other places has been a bubble, so that's not a good investment. Stocks are near an all-time high in most countries. I'm looking in China because it's depressed. I'm looking in Uzbekistan for many reasons, but there are not many stocks for me to invest in around the world. The only thing that's still depressed are commodities, real assets. Mm-hmm. I mean, silver is down 60% from its all-time high. Sugar is down huge from its all-time high. So the only place that I can see where there are perhaps bargains are in the commodity business.
Which commodity you're focusing
on? Well, mainly agriculture because, you know, agriculture is extremely depressed. Agriculture has been a terrible business in most of the world for a long time. The average age of farmers in America is 58 because nobody wants to be a farmer. It's been a bad business. In Japan, the average age is 66. The highest rate of suicide in the UK is in agriculture. You know, things are terrible. So that usually leads to opportunities, and it seems to be leading to opportunities again. So if you can find agricultural products that are depressed, you might become successful. There's a word in Chinese, wei ji. It means opportunity and disaster are the same thing. You have the same character in Korean. The Japanese have the same character. I mean, you all got it from the same place hundreds of years ago. In Japan, I think it's called kiki. I don't know how to say it in Korean. We don't have the word in English, but opportunity and disaster are the same thing. So when you see a disaster, we all say, oh, that's terrible. But we also should start saying, maybe there's an opportunity as well. And agriculture is one of those areas.